1,000 horsepower up front, and the wingspan of only 38. Basically, it's a high-powered but because of the small area of the wing, which is only 161 square feet area, that's it's an amazing flight. The timing is absolutely wonderful. To see a hammer in a volley, it's just made my week. The Russian version of it is called the Shetsov. It's a 1,000 horsepower, 9-cylinder, equal rated. Now the Republicans don't call it the Moscow, the fly. It's a good name for it. That video of the past filming of the opening of that region is going to be terrific to sell. It's another very good reason why the program is on video, and there's an order form in there, so you've got to get one. The Russian name for the aircraft is E-Check, and E-Check means little donkey. Achievement or what? Yes.
Special guests at this year's air show are the key staff from the Russian aircraft factory that built the Polikarpovs. The project has meant employment for hundreds of Russian craftsmen and the rebirth of a very important part of Russia's aviation history. This was marked by a special medal presentation to Sir Tim Wallace.
For participation in the restoration of the aircrafts.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Спасибо.
That's very special. Very special.
Для нас это
I feel privileged. Very
Я
privileged.
чувствую себя очень.
Это фантастический действительно день. В это сложно поверить. И действительно, когда мы 6 лет назад начинали все это дело с Тимом, это было как сказка. То есть мы верили, что это будет, но не до конца.
It's a fantastic time for us, and 6 years ago, when we have started the project with Tim Wallace, it seemed to be a fairy tale, but today all our dreams came true.
The Catalina is a symbol of a more romantic era in aviation. Although American designed, over 1,000 of these magnificent flying boats were actually built in Russia.
There are still a number flying in the world, particularly in Canada.
Well, the Yak-3 we got here, it's really the prime top Russian fighter of the Second World War. It came out right near the end, and it's very superior performance, would outperform anything. The German Luftwaffe issued a command, which was very public, that the Focke-Wulfs and 109s would avoid combat with the new Yak-3. This Yak-3 is actually a rather unusual Yak-3. It was built in 1993 under the control of the Design Bureau of Yakovlev, and it was done for an American company. And they recreated history, and they built these over in the Ural Mountains in Orenburg, and one of the factories where they were built in the wartime to the original specs, but with an American engine, just due to non-availability of the original Russian. It's 500 horsepower short, and its performance is very comparable Spitfire, Mustang. It's a very quick aeroplane.
Yak-3 detecting by the grass. Affirmative, cleared by the grass.
Excellent. MiG-15. Down that end as well. Now that's 5 hours.
Another feature of the Red Stars Rising show was a display by the famous Soviet MiG-15, which first saw combat in Korea in 1950. Many thousands were produced, and some are still in service as trainers. Air traffic control has come to Wanaka for the weekend. From its cramped, temporary headquarters, it will control thousands of aircraft movements.
Wind's favouring 29, about 3 knots at the moment, and display on time.
After a stunning display, the Polikarpov I-16s approach for their landings, which are an event in themselves.
But they found they got into asymmetrical problems. And it's very short coupled, as you can see. So our hand there is just gently eliminate any big control back and forward. Okay, so next into the left, short finals now. With the wind up. This will be Keith Skilling. Okay, the airfield has now disappeared. You can't see a thing now, it's all out of the side, out of the peripheral vision. See how fast that landing is? Very, very fast. You'd think with the drag created by that big front round radial, it would quite disconcerting, all that bouncing, wasn't it? Here we go, we've got number 3 coming in, and according to me this will be Steve Taylor. Yeah, Steve's one of the Roaring 40s aerobatic team guys, Pitt's aerobatics testers. We said to him, it must be like landing a big pitch, and he said, no, it's a lot worse than that. No, it's too bad stuff. Safe? Yeah. You can see, ladies and gentlemen, that it's a twitchy little aeroplane in the landing phase. Requires a tremendous amount of skill to keep it on the ground. All 5 down and safe.
After their first sortie since World War II, the pilots, who have had only a few hours on these amazing little planes, have lots to compare notes on.
Was it right on the off the first touchdown?
I don't know.
It's fairly rough. I thought the landing was nice, and then catapulted in there.
An interested visitor at this year's show was former German soldier Victor Elieth, who during World War II was attacked on the ground by a group of I-16s.
We were digging trenches to keep the Russian tanks coming over the border from Slovakia to Moravia. And they came in, I think, 4 or 6 of these Ratas, and they were strafing us. And one fellow was killed, and I was hit in the right leg. It's just a pity that so much energy was put into planes to build them just to destroy, and it's much nicer to see them flying just for fun. This is the dream of my life.
Yeah. Gavin, will you stop firing that?
The Mustang P-51D would have to be the epitome of the American fighter. It's everyone's dream of a fighter. It's extremely fast, the same engine virtually as the Mark 16 Spitfire, similar horsepower, give or take a few, and yet it's over 100 mile an hour faster. It's really the fighter near the end of the Second World War, and with its long-range fuel, this is a fighter that really turned the tide because it provided the support, close support for the bombers over Berlin, over Germany, and it really did turn the tide of the war.
It's a lovely aeroplane to fly. It's not as nice to fly from the pilot's point of view as the Spitfire, but the special qualities in World War II were it's got a fantastic long-range, high-speed cruise. That's because the Americans designed it with something new in those days called a laminar flow wing. That is a wing that has the thickest part of the wing not near the leading edge, but about halfway back. Gives the wing less drag at high speed. It's the first fighter that was constructed during World War II that has what we would call an ergonomic cockpit. It is very simple and easy to operate the various systems within the cockpit. Your hands aren't everywhere. The other thing that's exceptionally good is the view. You've got an exceptionally good view all round, which compares with any modern day fighter. In fact, it's better than a lot of modern day fighters.
Although jets have taken over from propeller-driven aircraft, the Mustang was such a high-performance plane, it can just about hold its own with the MiG-15 and a Yak-3.
Yeah, you look out above. That's a lovely thing as well. The concept is that these two P-51s are going to get rid of him because he's attacking our airfield. So we're going to watch a dogfight scenario. So the MiG-15's coming in for a strafing run now.
With a successful defence of the airfield under their belt, the Mustangs return, and it's time for the Kitty Hawk, the Corsair, and Spitfire to take centre stage.
Tim Wallace located this aircraft while it's being restored in the UK and took delivery of it in '88. It arrived here late '88 in New Zealand. It was the first warbird here based at Wanaka, and the whole collection's grown around it from then. The Spitfire always appeals to pilots. It's a real pilot's machine, beautifully balanced. The pilot becomes part of the machine. It's got the 266 Merlin, which is a two-stage, two-speed supercharger. So this one here is really the top of the line of the big supercharger model. This one performed fought in the last year of the war, and has a very strong connection with this part of the world, 453 Australian Squadron. It's painted in its original colours and markings as it was back then in the war.
I think there are perhaps 3 aeroplanes in the world that everybody knows what they are. There's the Jumbo, of course, there's the Concorde, everybody knows what a Concorde looks like, and a Spitfire, famous shape. It's about the biggest privilege any pilot could ever have, to fly a Spitfire.
Yep, we got Mark Hanna flying the mighty Spitfire. He's taken off the whole, just going to take off. Mark finish this display, and we'll come back to Max Collins and Jack Stafford in just a moment. This is the very plane, the same model that was flown, of course, by Max Collins. There's just so much you can say about this Spitfire, its history, the efforts of 19 to 21-year-olds safe work for the liberation, for the brave what they do across the channel. Shortly. Max, tell us about your first experience when you got into the Spitfire. I can recall a father who flew, of course, mentioning the ME-108.
The ME-108 launches a sneak solo attack on the airfield. This time the ground defences prevail.
Tail feathers, the tail wheel. It's the little brother, and these aircraft were used during the 1930s to train Luftwaffe pilots, and from there they went straight up onto the Messerschmitt 109s. This particular aircraft has been in New Zealand now for about 18 months, a couple of years I guess. It is flown today by Bruce Chapman, who is a CFI, Chief Flying Instructor with New Zealand Warbirds Association.
One of those design considerations was put into practice. I don't know if you can have a look. The aeroplane comes past in dirty configuration. It's got leading edge slats, which are a lift device, and then they'll be out this side.
They see the swastika and the black crosses and they just
The Cessna Dragonfly was developed initially as a trainer for the US Air Force in 1957. It was later modified extensively, with armaments, larger engines and bigger fuel tanks, and saw active service in the Vietnam War.
And it's a ground attack aircraft. I was going to ask you that. What's primary role? Primary role, it's a jet aircraft. It's got 2 jet engines in it. Just have a look. Dragonfly. Nice condition. Also like a new aeroplane. It's a 2-seater, 2 side by side.
This is the Chance Corsair, commonly called the Corsair. F4U1 is the model. New Zealand has operated these, land-based mainly in the Pacific. A very formidable fighter, very fast, called the Whistling Death by the Japanese. This aeroplane here that we've got was one we found in America. It's the only one of the early model flying in the world with the birdcage canopy, and that's the early model. It never saw combat. It was used for training in several squadrons within the USA. It's got a 2,000 horsepower, 18-cylinder engine, which gives it quite incredible performance, well over 400 miles an hour. And the unusual gull wing feature of it, which makes it look beautiful in the sky, was really a design necessity. With the 2,000 horsepower engine, it's a huge prop. And to get the prop clearance from the ground, they had to try and lift the whole aircraft up. So they've actually put a gull on the wings to get the aircraft further away from the ground on the